Hello and welcome to Brooklyn Elected Officials. I'm Brooklyn District Attorney Charles Hynes, and today I'm joined by Michelle Kirschbaum, Director of Programs for the New York Peace Institute, and Dr. Susan Fox, Founder and President of the Park Slope Parents. Thanks both of you for joining us today. First, let me start with you, Doctor. Can I call you Susan?
You can call me Fox.
Okay, Fox. What's Park Slope Parents all about, and why did you start it, and what kind of goals do you have for it?
Well, my first daughter was born 3 days after 9/11, and she was due the day after 9/11, and that kind of solidified, having a baby in New York City without family, the need to have connection to other parents. And so I started a small Yahoo group and invited all the people that I met in my building and on the street and in my mommy's group and at the stoop sales. And it grew, and about a year later it was 450, and 2 years later it was 2,000 people, and it just continued to grow, and we ended up needing a website to house some of the information. And there wasn't, at the time, there wasn't a big need for me to make it into a business, but in order to connect to the community, we decided, we need to make this into an entity that can sustain itself so that I can run it. And not have to feel like I'm trying to make money in another way. And it's built a community that people actually moved to Park Slope because they said, I heard about Park Slope Parents.
And it's grown to 4,500 families.
It's 4,500 families right now.
And you say it's a business. What kind of business?
Well, we have website advertising, and we charge a membership fee to help cover the costs of running the website. And we have actually 90 different groups. We have an advice list, and there's 5,000 people on that because you can join your spouse if you're the husband and wife. And then we have baby groups. If you're pregnant, you can join the baby group. And there are bilingual groups. There's a career networking group and a classifieds list, which is like a Craigslist on steroids for Park Slope. So.
And these are all the services.
These are all the services, and it takes time and effort. So we decided to start charging a membership fee.
And do you have meetings among these groups? Do you break them up into?
Yeah, there's the baby groups, the pregnancy groups meet beforehand, so they have camaraderie and can feel like, oh my gosh, here's somebody who understands exactly what I'm going through when my baby is 2 weeks old and they have baby acne, and oh my God, are they diseased? And so it's a lot of community that's built at the larger level with the larger groups, and then within these smaller groups.
Now, do you run the site as well?
Yes.
So you're the one who emails all the information?
Oh, yeah, a lot of it. We have a couple of, I say we have 2.84 employees. So we have a couple of consultants.
And you teach as well, right?
I teach at NYU. I teach a graduate class at NYU in the Media, Culture, and Communication department.
And how many credits do you teach?
How many credits? I think it's a 4-credit class.
4, really?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's full-time? It's a part-time professorship, no?
Yeah, it's an adjunct professorship.
Okay. And how often do you go to NYU?
I usually teach 1 semester a year, and it's a weekly graduate class. It's 2 or 3 hours because you teach, right?
Yes, I do. Yes. I teach drama. How to be a trial lawyer.
Drama.
I've been doing that for 27 years, believe it or not. So, Michelle, Peace Institute. For those who are watching, and have seen me before, they're going to say another one of these way out groups that you're involved in. What is the Peace Institute all about? And tell me first, though, about your experience with Safe Horizon and how you got involved in it.
Well, the New York Peace Institute is a community mediation program. So our business is really helping people who are in dispute. And people who are involved in some kind of a conflict will come to us through various sources, through various referral sources, and we train mediators to help them avoid violence, avoid court, and try to resolve the matter in a more collaborative way. The New York Peace Institute used to be a program of Safe Horizon. Which is an agency that provides services to victims of crime and abuse. So the mediation program was like a preventative kind of a program. to try to prevent violence.
Right. But you started in the domestic violence section of Safe Horizon, is that true?
Well, me personally,
Yeah.
I was a volunteer working with, in family court, working with women who came in, mostly it was women, who were victims of domestic violence. And we would help them appear before the judge and the family court judge and try and get an order of protection, at least temporary, counsel them, and try to connect them up with other services.
And that led to mediation work in Safe Horizon?
Yes, that's how I got to the mediation program.
And was Safe Horizon at the time also connected to the criminal court?
Safe Horizon has offices in criminal court, family court, to help victims who come in of any kind of crime.
Yeah, and that's they've had a presence there for many years. No?
Many years. It's a,
So when the Peace Institute and you created the Peace Institute, right?
well, I helped.
Yeah. Okay.
I
you
was
were the main organizer, no?
one of them.
Okay. So modest. So did you then replace Safe Horizon and the functions they were involved in?
No, we split from Safe Horizon because our missions didn't really fit too well. I mean, we were together for a long time, but we really wanted to work more with defendants, and Safe Horizon is really about working with the victims.
And particularly domestic violence victims.
As well as others, yeah.
And they do a terrific job. So, on average, how many cases do you get which involve referrals from, say, the district attorney's office?
Oh, we have a wonderful program with the DA's office. So we're getting now about...
This is the time to canonize Mike Ryan.
Okay. Mike Ryan is our point person over there. So he's wonderful. And he has helped train the ADAs on what mediation is and why it might be useful. So the ADAs who are dealing with the complaining witnesses can talk about mediation as an alternative to moving forward with this case through prosecution. So we get about 20 cases a week.
A week. Now, why should the DA's office, when the traditional goal is, traditional prosecution, why should they be involved in referring any case to the Peace Institute? Why is it their obligation to prosecute on behalf of complaining witnesses?
In many of the cases that we see, well, I think in part what the DA's office recognizes is that giving the parties involved in a dispute that escalated to a crime the opportunity to try and resolve that underlying issue that caused it to begin with will prevent this from happening again. Because many of these cases, honestly, that we're getting are crimes between family members. So you have adult siblings or an adult and their parent or cousins or some relationship. And they don't really desire to move forward. And I think that giving them the opportunity to really work it out is much better than going through the court system for a crime that maybe no one really wants to prosecute.
And where else do you get referrals from?
We get some referrals from civil court, so folks who go into civil court who might have a lawsuit for either a small claim or a large claim. Right now, their court dates are way months ahead. And having the opportunity to negotiate out a settlement is very attractive most of the time. So we get a lot of our cases are civil cases as well.
I mean, I can understand someone representing someone in the criminal court, but do you get any pushback or resistance from attorneys who are representing folks in civil disputes, or do they welcome your mediation efforts?
We find that they welcome it because going through civil court is usually not a rewarding process. There's a lot of adjournment dates, so you keep coming back, and it's very costly. So having the opportunity to try and settle this dispute and settle the matter is attractive a lot of times.
And do you have a presence in any other county in the city?
We are in Manhattan as well as Brooklyn.
In the criminal court as well?
Not in the criminal court.
Okay.
We haven't been able to foster as good a relationship with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office at this time as we have with the Brooklyn.
Oh, I think that'll change, though. I
would hope so.
I'm very, very fond of Cyrus Vance, and I think that he will eventually see this as a real positive alternative to what he's doing. Tell me about the Great Park Slope Halloween Parade.
Oh. So I've been helping with the Halloween Parade for about 5 years, and it's the largest children's parade, we think, in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah. And we get elected officials to come. We walk down the street, and but the neat thing about it is we say it's the largest because everybody joins in the back. Mm-hmm. So you join in the back. 3 or 4 years ago, we started adding giant puppets. Teresa Linehan from the Puppeteers Cooperative has built us 15 feet sun and moon, and we have a 20-foot mermaid. You've been in the parade.
Yes, I have.
And it's a wonderful night and it's not, it hasn't been branded and Disneyfied, and it's just a really neat kind of community event.
And I recall when you were running it, the night of, you were a bit frazzled. So
me frazzled? Never, never. It's all in the presentation.
But I guess you're happy you've moved beyond that as the former organizer, right?
Right. I'm the co-organizer who has enough under her belt that she doesn't need to be that frazzled.
So we have two special young women with us, but they're also extraordinary, and they are part of our Extraordinary Women's Program, which was started, I guess, almost 6 years ago. And each year we honor 32 of the extraordinary women of Brooklyn for Women's History Month, Women's History Month. And Mary Hughes is my confidential assistant, was the creator of this wonderful program. Now, you were an extraordinary woman in the class of 2009, and you were the class of 2011. Tell me what your involvement was. How you first became aware that you were that you were chosen, and how has it changed you at all, if it's changed? What do you see as a role of Extraordinary Woman?
Well, lots of questions.
Yeah.
I received a call from Pat Ruiz, who said I had been nominated and could I turn in a bio. Mm-hmm. So I turned in a bio, and actually one of the assistant district attorneys nominated me. She was a parent on Park Slope Parents. Mm-hmm. And she saw a lot of the work that we did with the Droit Femme and the Brooklyn Family Justice Center.
Droit Femme is the social service agency for the Haitian community.
Haitian community. And we had done some clothing drives and different things like that. And she said, we're an online community, but we also do outreach. So she nominated me, and I actually met with her. And I was then chosen to be this extraordinary woman, and it gave me access to all of these other extraordinary women who are doing great things. Mm-hmm. And for example, in the case of Michelle, we had on our list somebody say, my nanny has $20,000 worth of hospital bills, and she doesn't know how to she can't pay them right now, and she's scared. And so I called up Michelle, who I had met at one of the events, and said, hey, do you think that the New York Peace Institute could help us out and help this woman out? And sure enough, there were connections made. So that's the thing that we like the most about it, that Michelle and I have actually become kind of tight on, is making connections and letting all these extraordinary women feed off of each other and build better relationships with their own
I want
community.
to talk about that, because that's one of the things that has been missing. It's really uneven, and for all the great people like Pat Ruiz and Mary Hughes, they just have not been able to coordinate, and that's why I was delighted when the two of you met with me for breakfast a couple of weeks ago and discussed plans for maybe making it a much more effective thing for the women in the program and for the people of Brooklyn. But Michelle, when did you get notified about your selection? And
similar to Susan, I got a phone call from Pat, and it was a really extraordinary moment. I mean, and it felt so wonderful to be recognized by your office, and it was also a wonderful opportunity to learn about what else was going on among other women. And when Susan and I kind of connected up, I really reached out to her because with all of her network, I'm always looking for ways to get the word out about what our program does to make people aware of our services that are free, and it's always a challenge. So with her network, I thought we could connect up, which we did, and then that kind of conversation grew into, hey, we're making this great connection. There's all these women who have been selected and identified as being, extraordinary in one way or another. Why don't we bring them together in some meaningful
way? Let's
way?
get that for one in a minute. You're both leaders in your communities. You have an interest in public safety, obviously, for yourselves and your friends and relatives and all the folks who live in your general area. What has a prosecutor's office have to do with extraordinary women? Why should we be expending any resources to put this program together? What benefit does it have for folks in your community and you personally?
Essentially, you can look at us as ambassadors to spread the word, raise awareness about some of the incredible programs that your office does that help victims and help defendants and prevent recidivism. It is just a natural thing that people like us who do have connections to other organizations and other people could be in a position to reach out to them and help raise awareness, because people just don't know. And what you're doing, honestly, is more extraordinary than any of us. And so it's really wonderful that we can have the opportunity to do that. So I would say act as your ambassadors and really raise awareness in this borough about lots of those programs.
The only extraordinary thing I really did was hire very smart people who identified very smart people. What's your take on this?
My take on this is I had no idea what the DA's office did. None whatsoever. And I had the same view and had watched all the crime dramas, and that you guys just put people in jail. And so to be chosen and to be taught about what your office does in decreasing recidivism and trying to connect with the community and make people who are maybe going down the wrong track change direction. And for example, we heard about the sex trafficking unit that was starting, and we reached out to the Park Slope Parents members and said, we're going to do a toiletries drive. Some of these people come off the streets, they have no clothes, they can't take they have no shampoo, and we collected 20 boxes of toiletries for the sex trafficking unit. That would have never happened if I wasn't an extraordinary woman.
It was magnificent. So you've thought about redesigning or making the Extraordinary Women program better, more effective, more efficient, more enhancing it some way. So why don't you tell the viewers what you have in mind?
Well, Susan and I got together, and she had some great ideas about something that she had done before. She calls it a schmooze fest.
Schmooze fest.
And it's a way of bringing together people and helping them connect with one another. Well, maybe you should describe a little bit more about it.
Well, we've done this through our career networking group that we have on Park Slope Parents, and literally you get up and for a minute you say, here's who I am, here's what I can offer, and here's what I need. And if you have 20 people in the room, then you have 20 people and you can make all of those different connections. And even if I hear somebody say, we have a dance program, Shannon Hummel from, I'm going to forget the name.
Red Hook?
From Red Hook, but Cora Dance. And when I found out what she did, here I have a big megaphone to 5,000 parents to say, if you have leotards and dance shoes that your children have outgrown, let's now get those to Cora Dance, because they're a nonprofit trying to give kids. So to be able to have a schmooze fest where we can meet each other and know a little bit more about what each other does, then that allows us to make those connections that otherwise we wouldn't have.
So if there is an extraordinary woman, let's say, who advocates for children with a disability, I would love to meet that person, because one of our programs is special ed mediation, and we can help resolve disputes between parents of children with a disability and the school system, and that would be a great resource for that advocate. So those kinds of connections, individually for us, as well as for them, would be just would be wonderful. That's one aspect of the Schmooze Fest.
Yeah.
Then there's another.
And as you both know from the positions you've held, the key to all of this is follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
How do you propose doing that? I mean, do you plan to do it on your own? You're going to try and get a committee together to have a follow-up and make sure this is an ongoing enhancement project?
Well, I think we need to kind of feel out what people are capable of.
Mm-hmm.
When I became an extraordinary woman, I set up a Yahoo group, which is what Parksville Parents is on, and I took all the emails of all the extraordinary women so that and I've used it and other people have used it to get the word out. Mm-hmm. There's a woman who crochets blankets, and so I met with her, and she said, I have 7 blankets, I don't know who to give them to, so we sent it out on the list of all the extraordinary women and said, does anybody need blankets for an auction or a raffle? And so we disseminated that way. And so some of the follow-up will happen through an online means. One of the other things we do is we have a table that we just crisscross and everybody puts out their information so you can take everybody's information. So follow-up is key.
And that's part one. Part two, so part one is for people to meet, to connect, to bond, essentially, in some way or another, through either the work that they do or even personally. And then part two would be to bring folks back again. And this is more about looking at how can we as a group mobilize so that we can raise awareness about the programs in your office, support the programs in your office in one way or another, and hopefully keep that as an ongoing committee that has that interest. So we need to first connect up and then mobilize to part two.
And do you identify particular issues, for example, like domestic violence or like sex trafficking awareness, and educate the other extraordinary women? Is that in the design as well?
Absolutely, and I think that we have to figure out as a group if we want to, identifying all of the different programs and seeing where people's interests lie. There may be numerous committees that come up that have like interests. So without knowing where people are at, we can't determine which programs will be selected, but hopefully this will be an ongoing and a growing process that we use.
And the two of you are going to run this yourselves?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Well, you're certainly capable of doing it. But
no, your office has been incredibly helpful too, Pat.
Well, they understand our commitment.
Pat and Mary too.
Yeah. And one of the things that is not lost on me is that our extraordinary women have not really seen all of our different sites that are so important, like our Red Hook Community Court. And for me, it's a dream. Long before I finally decide to leave this office, which I'll leave in one of two ways: I'll be defeated at the election, or I'll die. But I'm staying here as long as I can, because I have a couple of long-term goals. One of which is reversing the stupid decision made 60 years ago to centralize the court system. 60 years ago, and you've lived in Brooklyn 14 years, and you didn't live in a city.
Nope.
No. So in 60 years ago, we had local courts everywhere in New York City. We had magistrates' courts, municipal courts, and it allowed folks in the neighborhood to, within blocks of their houses, to enter a court and see justice up front. And when this idea was formulated, it was supposed to be to make it more efficient, and it would centralize the justice system. And what no one realized, that was when the courts went downtown in each of the 5 counties, all of the credibility that was in the neighborhoods went with them. So the Red Hook Community Court is an attempt to reverse that, and the next community court will be in Brownsville. But it seems to me that because of the extraordinary community leadership of each of the ambassadors or extraordinary women, they can be a great resource to galvanize support among elected officials to help us in the reversal. What other kinds of things do you think we can do for the Extraordinary Women programs to make it more effective and more efficient?
Well, I think one of the things you said is really we can bring the women to see some of the programs. I sat in one of the classes of one of your programs, EPIC.
Right. That's early ending prostitution in communities.
Right. So these were a group of women and men who are going through a series of classes about various topics. This one I sat in happened to be about sex trafficking and what is sex trafficking. And just sitting there and watching the interchange of the people in the class, the participants and the instructors, and how it was so supportive of an environment for them, and the information that they were receiving, which was so valuable. That's very inspirational. And that is more, I think, what some of the extraordinary women need. They need to really see firsthand, not just read it on a piece of paper. So I think one of the things that we can do is try to organize field trips, essentially.
Yeah. And the STAR program, you're aware of our STAR program?
Yes, I
Saving
am.
Teens at Risk. That's the flip side of the older prostitutes. Our John School, have you seen our John School?
I haven't
Heard
seen
it.
John's.
Yeah, I've
Got to
seen some
go see
video.
John School.
I've been to Alert.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that's our reentry program. I don't dare go to John School because I think something happens in there because of some 2,500 men. Only 14 have been rearrested, so they must scare the heck out of these people. Tell me, do you think the Extraordinary Women, at least a committee of them, ought to be involved in selecting future Extraordinary Women?
Absolutely.
Good.
And I think there is some. I nominated Kim Mayer from the Old Stone House.
All right.
And I've got a couple other people in mind for next year.
And we're just going to make this an exceptional program, and maybe someday people will understand that they should have a program like this as well. That's all the time I have. And I'd like to thank my guests, Michelle Kirschbaum from the New York Peace Institute, Dr. Susan Fox of Park Slope Parents, and thank you all for watching Brooklyn Elected Officials on the BCAT TV network.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes.